विदधाति पूर्वम् यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तं हदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशम् मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। वेदान्तार्थविभासकाय गुरवे शान्ताय सन्न्यासिने नानावादी नगेन्द्रसङ्घपवये योगीन्द्रवन्द्याय च मोहध्वान्तदिवाकराय भगवत्पादाभिधां बिभ्रते तस्मै भाष्यकृते नमोऽस्तु सततं पूर्णाय बोधात्मने। It is the mention of time when the words like yada and tada are used. So yada meaning when and tada means then. And the relationship between when and then is, of course, something on the scale of time, but denoting cause and effect. When there is cause, there is effect. When there is a cause, then there is the effect created. Yada karanam asti tada karyam utpadyate. And therefore, the question in Arjuna's mind, as when will this mind really be able to be enlightened? When will that happen? To this question, though this is not verbalized by Arjuna, but this is a question that should be there in every seeker's mind, because the person is striving hard, sincerely and earnestly. And now, though he is not even going to be deterred, discouraged by why the enlightenment has still not happened, yet he has a purpose for working towards it. And that purpose is that he wants to be liberated. Note that very important attitude of a seeker, that he does not get discouraged. Though he is earnestly, sincerely, honestly engaged in Karma Yoga. And we have already seen that Karma Yoga necessarily will have these three components. One of the basic components is one of the fundamental components is that a person has realized that how fickle and how transitory are these goals that we keep on chasing in life. And the Shastra has summarized our own priorities just under these three headings: Putra, Vitta, and Lok. Progeny, wealth, and the world. The world which will give you pleasurable and pleasant experiences. Now that world also includes the mortal world in which we are experiencing this mundane objects and things, and that world also includes now the word world should include even the world of immortal celestial beings. So a person is hankering, chasing pleasures, whether those are the pleasures of flesh or of some delights like a poetry or a music concert, yet it is pleasure. And company, etc., all of these things, Stri, Putra, Pashu, etc., can be brought under the heading Putra. Wealth, in terms of your money, property, investments, cars, vehicles, popularity, all these things can be put under this wealth, security. Recognition, appreciation, respectability, all these things can come under now the Loka. So Putra, Vitta, and Loka. Our whole life is spent chasing just these things. Now here is somebody whom you can call as spiritual. If you were to ask Bhagavan Shri Krishna, the teacher in Gita, as who is a person whom you can call spiritual, Shri Krishna is not going to answer in terms of a person with strange experiences. That I'm a person who is able to see the dead people and is able to communicate with the spirits is spiritual. I have not found anybody more practical, more empirical than Bhagavan Krishna. Bhagavan Shri Krishna is going to answer in terms of a person who is intellectually mature, a person who is emotionally, cognitively mature. Which means now the person is not going to be amused. The person is not going to be engaged, occupied by the ideas of Putra, Vitta, and Loka. as the goals of life. Look around and you will find not only yourself, but almost 99% of people are engaged only in chasing these things. It is whether the person is engaged in chasing men and women and pleasures, or just worried about the progeny and offsprings and their betterment, or the person is now worried and occupied in amassing wealth and multiplying his wealth, or a person is now concerned about having name and fame, popularity and recognition. Even in spirituality, people want to be recognized as spiritual people. The other day, I was at someone's home, and this person came and I told you, said that Swamiji did not recognize my greatness, my spiritual greatness. Your spiritual greatness has to gain recognition from others, endorsement from others, approval from others. That itself says it is not spiritual. There is nothing spiritual about it. It is only an assurance for the ego. It is only an assurance for the ego, just as the ego requires assurance now and then. Just observe whenever a child is growing and when the ego is slowly getting crystallized. And when the mother wants now the ego of the child to become a functional person in this world, because the ego of the child is in that infantile stage is extremely selfish. The child is not going to be worried about whether the mother is tired or not, whether it is day or night. If the child is hungry, he will demand that the mother gets up and feeds him. If the child is upset, the child is not going to be worried whether the mother or the father can afford it or not afford it. He wants it, and that's why he will keep on demanding it. For him, it does not matter whether the father is able to afford or not. For the child, the only thing is that I want it, I have seen it, and I want it. And therefore is extremely selfish. And you have to observe how the mother, through her approval and disapproval, keeps shaping the ego of the child to make that child now a person who can adjust to the world, to the society, because your selfishness is not going to be tolerated by the whole world. Each one is an ego over here and equally selfish. Why will your tantrums be tolerated by anyone? Why will your demands be met by everyone? And therefore, the mother has to keep on teaching, shaping, and the mother will say, look here, don't cry now. Aren't you a good boy? And the child wants to be approved as a good boy. That is immaturity as long as you're asking for approval. As long as one is asking for that kind of an recognition all the time is immaturity, and this immaturity has nothing to do with spirituality. In fact, it is unspiritual. when you are demanding your spiritual status be recognized by someone? What is your spiritual status? The reality is that you are Atma. And what is not Atma over here? Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Even that shredded piece of cotton which you have thrown away as rag is also Paramatma, the Supreme Being. What is not Paramatma over here? Then how special are you? But the very demand to be called as special itself is immaturity, unspiritual. But people feel that, there are these great teachers, they are able to recognize my spiritual eminence. Eminence, etc., will belong to the ego. And that is what you want. Even when you have gone to a teacher, you still are asking for the ego to be petted. Cajoled, glorified. Going to the teacher, you did not even understand that this is a place where the ego can be melted. The ego can be given up, loosened. There also, now you sit on that. Shri Krishna Bhagavan is going to say that the maturity which we call as spiritual progress is in recognizing that chasing the shadows is useless. Because no matter how much pleasures that you may gain and how much approval that you may gain, recognition and wealth that you may accumulate, yet everything is going to count zero at a point. Everything is going to become zero. Even if you are able to fill gallons and gallons of the mirage water, when you are thirsty, can you even get a drop of water from the gallons of water of the mirage? And this is the reason why the person keeps on feeling that he is empty and hollow and empty and hollow. Those achievements will mean nothing. All those golden trophies will mean nothing. They will just sit on your shelf, gathering dust, shiny objects. Therefore, friends, the greatness is in recognizing that this is transitory. And yet, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says that the person having recognized this does not become lethargic, he does not become disappointed. In fact, he works with the same enthusiasm, same sincerities, same intensity. But his intensity His dedication does not generate any anxiety. It does not generate any jealousy. It does not generate any anger. Because now for him, working in this world is not meant because he wants to extract something from the world. For him, it is an opportunity to meet his beloved God. In every interaction with the world, with every person, sometimes he will have to talk with love and affection. Sometimes he may have to even reprimand people. But in both the cases for him, he is still talking to God. He is still talking to his beloved. Between the lover and the beloved, the game continues. And that's why in the Madhurya Bhava Bhakti, Radha sometimes will frown at Krishna. She will turn her face away. And in her frowning, she is called as Manini. Shri Krishna tries to persuade her. Look at me, beloved, at least once. She keeps turning her eyes and turning her face away from him, refuses to talk, frowns, scolds, reprimands Krishna. And sometimes she persuades him, Krishna, come to the bank of Yamuna. I'm waiting for you. So many days have passed and I haven't even seen you. I haven't seen even your silhouette, silhouette against the light. She cries, and therefore, in love, in this relationship between the lover and the beloved, it has got various shades, and every shade is equally beautiful. Viraha is also equally beautiful as much as the Milan is. Milan means meeting, Viraha means separation. Here, therefore, the Karma Yogi now seeks this every opportunity of interacting with the world as if he is talking, communicating, looking at his beloved God. Because Parmeshwara has assumed every form and spread himself all around you as this world of men and women, animals and bees and flies and birds, flowers, sun, moon, planet, everything. The stars in distance, everything is this Parmeshwara. And therefore he keeps on the spirit of meeting his beloved, the spirit of worshipping his God now is available to him every moment, and that is what makes it Karma Yoga. The third factor which is important in Karma Yoga is that this person now, he knows that it is through this Karma Yoga, with this attitude of worshipping the God all around you, even this knowledge will dawn and you will know that you have never been separate from God. That what you are calling as I, in fact, is the God whom you have adored always. There was this play of God looking at himself. That's all. And therefore, though he is waiting for this knowledge to take place, but he does not become disappointed why this knowledge is yet not taking place. He will keep on doing the karma yoga without being discouraged, without being, without anything deterring him. And therefore, the karma yogi now is indeed prepared for the knowledge. Is it waiting for knowledge all the while? And therefore, now when there is this question, Krishna Bhagavan answers it by saying, when will it happen? And that when is not something you can bring deliberately. It is a consequence. It is a consequence, it is a result. And that result and consequence means the Karana, the cause has to exist prior to the consequence. And when the cause has reached its pinnacle, it blossoms as the consequence. Shri Krishna Bhagavan says, when will this knowledge take place? In verse number 53, Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhis tada yogamavapsyasi. Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhis tada yogamavapsyasi. Look at that. Again over here you are going to find yada and tada embedded in the verse. Yada te buddhihi. When your understanding, when your mind, when your understanding. Yada, because by saying mind, it simply means the general cognitive faculty. And when Shri Krishna is using this word buddhi, there is this connotation of the cognitive function of understanding, intelligence, of knowing, seeing. And therefore, to use the word mind in general over here, though is right, but more correct is to say when you are understanding. Te means tava, yours. When you are understanding. When you are understanding, which otherwise was Shruti Vipratipanna. When you are understanding, when your buddhi was Shruti Vipratipanna. Vividha Pratipanna. Vipratipanna, Nana Pratipanna. Multifarious, divided into several thousands, innumerable fractions. When the mind, when the understanding is chasing innumerable objects, then the understanding, because in chasing every object, the singular motive is that this object will make me happy. And therefore, let me chase it. Whether you are chasing one woman or you are chasing 10,000 women, the idea is that every woman over here can make me happy. And that's why let me chase. Let me chase her men, women, objects in various ways. Just look at how we seek recognition and approval even from people who are not at all significant to you. Go to a restaurant. The waiter who is waiting at your table has the simple job of just noting down what food you want and bringing it to your table. But you expect courtesy, respect, even from him. He is doing his job. But you want him to call you, sir, good evening. And because you are paying money, you expect now that with this money, not only food, but I should also be respected. Have you ever thought that you also could sometime call him sir? He is doing his job of bringing you what you want. And therefore, even from a person whose name you do not know, even from a person who does not know your name, you expect him to be very, very respectful to you. Which means that the desire for gaining respect, the desire to be respected by people is so much. Look at that, and that's how we are chasing innumerable things. Vipratipanna buddhi. Shri Krishna is saying now he is talking not of people who are going to chase this world with wrong means, but they are doing something that is legitimate, something which is scripturally sanctioned. Scriptures are just sanctioning the methods by which you can gain something. Putra Vitta and Loka. But the desire for Putra Vitta and Loka is very much yours. It is not because of the scriptures that you are now motivated for Putra Vitta and Loka. The scriptures are not sending you into this direction. They are just saying that if you want Putra Vitta and Loka, these are the means to gain it. And these are the means in the sense, these are the righteous means. Therefore, Shruti Vipratipannaha, Shruti Bhihi. Shruti Vipratipanna means it is through Shruti, by listening even to the scriptural injunctions of means to those ends. The mind is already torn into innumerable streams. Shrutibhihi vipratipannaha, nana pratipannaha. Shankaracharya says vikshipta sati. Vikshipta means disturbed. Vikshipta means disturbed. Kshep, kship is the dhatu which means to throw, to project. Vikshepa means viprakarshen. It is thrown with intensity. In general, the mind is thrown into this world of objects, in the sense chasing the objects, chasing the world. But though you are chasing the world, you're chasing certain form of the world. This man, this woman, this much money, this car, this position, this respect. And when there is specification of your chase, now it is vikshipta. Even a lunatic person is called as vikshipta. The mind is disturbed. According to Sage Patanjali, we are all vikshipta people, little mad. And therefore, we are still asking that when will I become peaceful? In the sense, you also know that this state of mind is not something that is desirable. When you yourself know it is not desirable, but you don't keep on justifying how correct you are in being disturbed? When you do not want it, look for its solution, not its justification for it being there. By justifying the problem, you are going to say it is right for the problem to stay there. If it is right, why are you calling it wrong? The whole effort of ours is such a big self-cancellation. Shankaracharya Bhagavan calls it as vikshipta sati tava buddhi yada shruti vipratipanna buddhi nishchala sthasyati, becomes nishchala vikshepa chalana varjita sati, becomes free from this disturbance of being constantly thrown. And this is the tedium, this is going to be the tiredness. Sthira sthasyati means sthiribhuta bhavishyati. When will become steady? That is the reason why it is important. Even if you are not able to give up all the desires, then just maintain few. Let the mind be settled with just few. I'm going to give you an example. The example may not sound very refined. It may be very raw, yet it is very eminent, poignant example. It will work. This man now chases 1,000 women. But when he is married, now he knows this is the woman for me to be satisfied with. She is the only one. Now he is able to withdraw from 999 and come only to one. Now the vikshepa which was happening in 9,000 different ways suddenly has reduced and has become just one. And therefore, now this person you are going to say has become steady, has got settled. So when a person is able to identify one purpose, one person, one line of career, you are going to say the person is settled. Because the vikshepa has gone, should I do this or should I do that? The vikshepa has gone, the disturbance has gone, should I be chasing this girl or that girl? One. She is the only one. If I have to persuade, I will persuade her. One. This is then settling of the mind. We have attached too much of morality to it. But more than moral and ethical reason, it has a reason of yourself being settled with yourself. Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasyati nischala. For Bhagwan Ram, there was just one woman in this world. That was Sita. For Sita, there was no other man in this world. It was just Ram. Settled. Settled. For Ram, there is no option. If not Sita, I would have married somebody else. There was no one other than this for Sita to be married. Somebody asked, if you were not to be a sannyasi, what would you be? I said, I don't know. There was no option. There was just no option. That's why people think that it must be very difficult to be a sannyasi. I said, why? It may be difficult for you, but why should that be difficult for anyone else? How difficult it is for a duck to take to the water. You can throw a cat, and it may be difficult for a cat to swim in the water, but for a duck, why should it be? Duck to the water. Settled. This is it. And therefore, Shruti Pratipannate Yada Sthasyati Nischala. When the mind thus becomes Nischala, Chalana Varjita, Vikshepa Chalana Varjita Sati. At that time, Samadha Vachala Buddhi. That time, now that Buddhi can stay steady, Achala. Will stay steady, and this steadiness has got some more meaning than the steadiness which was mentioned earlier. Now this steadiness, where does it become steady and what is the meaning of the steadiness over here is very important. When the mind has overcome all the infatuation with anatma padartha, when the mind one is able to overcome the the self hypnosis, being mesmerized by anatma, now when that is gone, when that mesmerism has faded away, when this hypnosis, one has woken up from that hypnosis, that time now the mind can become steady in Atma. And therefore, the word samadhi over here in this verse is not a state of mind, because the state of mind we are saying is steady state of mind. Steadiness is the state. Steadiness of the body is asana. Steadiness of the breath is pranayama. Steadiness of the indriyas is called as pratyahara. Steadiness of the thought with regard to space is called as dhyana. Steadiness with regard to the object of the thought is called as dhyana. The earlier dharana, dhyana. And when this steadiness now has become free from all vikalpas, it is called as samadhi. Therefore, the word achala buddhi is already talking about samadhi. So, the samadhi in samadhi is not a good sentence because it does not convey anything. The word samadhi over here, Bhagwan Bhashyakara says, the meaning is Atma. Because when one has withdrawn from all that is anatma, then what is the other place where you are going to be settled? Where are you going to be seated? In Atma, steadily. Do you see this? So the buddhi, the understanding which is settled in the Atma steadily, this happens, when this happens, Bhagavan Krishna says, Tada yogam avapsyasi. It is then that you have achieved, attained yoga. You have mastered yoga. That is where you are endowed with yoga. Not when you are able to see with your third eye and imagine things. I stop living in Marvel comics. Stop being like an Alice in Wonderland. The word samadhi here means Atma. Then the question comes as how do you explain the word samadhi as Atma? And Bhagavan Shankaracharya Bhashyakar explains, Samadhiyate chittam asmin iti samadhi. That in which the mind can be kept. Samadhiyate, adhiyate can be placed is Atma. That in which the mind can merge, adhiyate. iti samadhi. So the word samadhi is atma, tasmin atmani iti etat. Samadho is saptamyanta, atmani is saptamyanta. Tasmin samadho meaning tasmin atmani, in the atma, in the self. Iti etat. Achala means vikalpa varjitaha. Earlier when it was said nishchala, chalanam is there. Over here also it is achala, chala only. But the upasarga meaning the prefix is different. Earlier it is ni is the prefix, making it nishchala. Over here, a is the prefix, making it achala. And when it is achala, the meaning is vikalpa varjitaha, free from the vikalpa. Free vikalpa is shabdanupati vastu shunyo vikalpa, where some cognition is created, an experience is created, but there is no object over there, no object corresponding to the cognition. It is only some word, like even when we say Vandhyaputra, or we say Shashashringa, the hair of, what do they call, the horn of the rabbit. Now with this horn of the rabbit, some sort of cognition does get created, but there is no object over there to it. There is no object corresponding to that cognition. This, he says, is vikalpa. I am good, I am bad. All these are vikalpas. The reality is just that I am. And the reality of this I is that this I is free from all limitations, names and forms, is just pure consciousness in which all the names and forms are an appearance. That is what I am. And when the buddhi is able to settle in the self, in this I, cognizing this state of the buddhi is achala buddhi. And when this happens, Krishna Bhagavan says, Tada yogam avapsyasi. That is the time when you have mastered the yoga. You have attained yoga. You have mounted on yoga. Tada yogam avapsyasi. So over here in this shloka, in this particular verse, we have understood steadiness of the understanding in the self as Brahman, understanding the self as Brahman, and the mind stays steady without getting disturbed by any desires. Now picking up this as the thread for the question that is coming up, Prashna Bijam Labhya. Arjuna is going to ask Bhagavan, what is the characteristic of a sage who thus has attained the steadiness of understanding? And therefore, sthita prajnasya ka bhasha, what is the definition of a sthita prajna, of a person with steady understanding, is the question, and then after Bhagavan Krishna answering it till the end of this chapter. We will see that as we keep progressing in our forthcoming classes. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.